Well, we're back at this, and you can see I have the ducting taped to the collar. I still don't have the mastic sealing add-on on this, but I just wanted to show you what ducting should look like when it's done correctly. The way guys who defend ducting very rarely put it correctly on themselves. They talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. You see this? It's like a snare drum. This is how ducting should be installed. Long straight runs with, if you do 90s, you do metal 90s. And if you look at the inside of this ducting, you see the ridges are on the outside where the wire wound is right here. You can hear my fingernail going over them. But on the inside, it's smooth, almost like a flat piece of paper. And that's because of the way it's attached. Now, if you were going to attach this correctly, at least out here in California, if you really like to do it, if they weren't going to tear down this part of the building next year, what I would do is I put on what's called the Pookie, is their one of the nicknames for the mastic, the duct sealant. I'd put down the duct sealant, and it's kind of messy, but then I put the tape on the inner lining, and I stretched the lining over the mastic. Then I put it on with tape at the edge and the seam onto the fresh metal. And you put a few rolls of tape around there, and then you get your big zip tie and put your zip tie around there, and then cinch it down with a zip tie over your material. And then you take your insulation and you pull your insulation all the way forward, all the way to the sheet metal up here, and then you can tape it or zip tie it down right tight right up next to the collar, so outside ambient air doesn't touch. If this gets too cold and you're in a hot humid place, it'll start sweating, and then it'll come down to the bottom, and you can see where there was leaks before, and it'll drip down, and you can see the water stain there. And from not being insulated before, it was dripping down, and then it would drip down to the sheetrock like it was before, making it all wet because they didn't carry the insulation all the way up here. This is not insulated on the inside or the outside, so every time it was cold in the winter time, but yet 80 or 90% humidity, but the inside ductwork was around 50 degrees, and it would just turn into water out here and just drip down on here. And so this is what flex duct should be installed like. If guys don't do something like this, then they're not following the manufacturer's installation procedures, because it shouldn't be all shriveled up and everything like that. It should be nice and smooth inside. And there's guys who say, well, it's impossible to do that, and it takes too much work to make it nice and straight. Yes, that's why flex duct shouldn't be allowed in the first place. They should only do sheet metal, because to get it really nice and straight everywhere, and put hard 90s and attach as many attachment points as you need everywhere to make it actually correct, you literally put as much work, if not more work, than if I would have just put sheet metal in the first place. And so it really leaves no excuse for using flex duct. All right, guys, I'll see you around. And I know some guys will disagree with that, but the airflow characteristics to smooth, hard sheet metal compared to flex duct, and a real good sheet metal man could make nice slooping transitions and put them together as easy as somebody correctly putting in flex duct. It's just the lack of experience and the lack of the knowledge of either the person putting in the flex duct or the person putting in sheet metal and making up sheet metal. There's guys who are real professionals and masters at their art at sheet metal, and they handle and put in sheet metal just like buttering, you know, warm butter on hot toast. And then there's those guys who whine and cry and piss and moan and groan about sheet metal. I'm not a sheet metal guy. I would be one of them, but I can learn it if I had to. They put it in really easy, and but this you have to work at. All right, see ya, guys.